Before we start, good morning. I'm not enough to you guys. This is going to be part 7 of a pretty much 33 part series. So we're like getting good into like the first third because basically 11 is going to be 1/3 of the way through. Again, the book is Keanu Reeves and China Miéville's The Book of Elsewhere. I had a cold the past couple of days, and it's almost through. It's almost finished. I try to get rid of my colds. Like if I get a cold or something, try to make it last 3 or 4 days. Usually not more than 3. So we're good. On the background, the music that I've chosen for today, which you guys probably won't hear, is from one of my favorite bands, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. They're from Korea. They're actually a solid ass speed Korean metal band. They're fucking epic, dude. If you've never heard Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I'm telling you, it's a good watch. They make the theme song for, is it Tokyo Ghoul? I think it's Tokyo Ghoul. Yeah, it's Tokyo Ghoul. Really, really good series if you like the animated shit, which I do. I've got a lot of stuff planned for today, but I figured before I really start my day, I'm going to get my walk on. I want to give a shout out to one of the victims of this really, really horrible lady. Nonia is her name. She has stolen over $20,000 from community people just like you. Most likely, Serafina is the name that I'll be giving her. I'm not giving her actual name to protect her. You've got these people out there. People, talent, they're swindlers, they're sellers. Their goal is to take your money. I need you guys to just be vigilant in what you guys do. So, Serafina, I've got a mile for you today. I'm going to a museum today, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take pictures. So, if I'm unable to take pictures from the museum, Serafina, you're getting a straight walk. So, I might be broadcasting 3 times today, 4 times today. But this broadcast right here is chapter 7 of the Book of Elsewhere. Again, Keanu Reeves, China Miéville. It's been a really good book so far. So, let us continue. We're actually on page 75. I'm going to try to get to like page 90. If I can get to page 90, I'll feel good. If I don't, so what? I can't guarantee because I got stuff that I got to do tomorrow too. But I'm planning on getting my read on, Again, this will not be an everyday thing. This will just be something that I do when I can. Because that's how reading should be. You don't have to force yourself to read. If you don't like what I'm reading, if you don't like me, you can just go somewhere. I don't care. But if you stay, you're going to hear some words. The chapter of this one is Child's Pose. And that's another thing I try to do. I try to keep it coordinated so I'm not like overreading the same page over and over and over again. Because that gets boring as shit. But windows in Dr. Scher's office faced into the darkness of the forest. She was standing by them as Stonier came in, meeting the fascinated stare of a deer. The animal shied at Stonier's entrance and bounded into the trees. Scher sat in the armchair by her desk and gestured Stonier into the chair facing it. She was old as his mother and watching him with a concerned glaze. He was experienced enough to know how many unlikely figures, according to cliches, excelled in the military. He himself was, he knew, one such, according to certain conventions. Still, he found it hard to imagine this gentle, smiling white woman in floral prints barking orders or snapping to attention in response thereto. Did you meet with Caldwell yet? She said at last, I'm seeing him today. Got another message about whatever this project is. He said he wants me because of my experience. He shrugged. Hear him out. Maybe he's trying to take my mind off things. I wouldn't have had him down as giving a shit, he said. Sure held up one hand. Remember what I said? I'm not going to ask you to break confidences. I don't know any details. When we discussed it before, you said it made you uneasy. It tells me something about the place Caldwell has in your head, in that you've told me he had in your husband's head. And I know you don't know why, but that's okay. It's good to see you trust your instincts. I'm sensing pride in you, and that's good too. I think you feel pressure to do as he suggests, but that you're resisting it, using the techniques we've discussed. You work in a dramatic and often, unfortunately, pretty negative world. So it's even more important that you learn to work in positive ways, to focus on positive things, even given your loss. It's hard, Stonier said. He was gone, sure waited. I was really trying. I missed him, but I was trying. Even I was numb, and then all of a sudden, he wasn't dead. But then, now he is, after all. What am I supposed to do with that? You get why it's a bit hard to hear you talk about positivity. When I say positive, I don't mean for you to deny pain. That's, well, denial. Everyone we love is a vector. And the winding down of that is agony. And for reasons we don't understand, you've had to face it twice. And I'm so sorry for that. It's more than anyone should have to deal with. But you do. And how you do matters. She sat back. Have you looked into any of the groups that I listed for you? She said. Not yet. I'm not going to rush you, but I will say again, I think they could be good for you. Not everyone loves or loved their spouses like you do. Hey, speaking of people I love, Robo GTAG and Juniper, welcome to the read. Welcome to the read. Not exactly, he said. What I gave him was a lot of shit about his stupid hobbies. He smiled, which he then got me into too. Are you ready to share what it was? Nah, he said. It's embarrassing, like reading this book to you guys. The first time we played his games together, he took what I was holding and he kissed it and he kept it. And then I got it back, he whispered. He was holding it in the tunnel, and now you have it back. This connection, this is why, in my opinion, you, not just anyone, but you, would benefit from being a part of a community. You're experiencing a very particular coagulation of love, loss, and anger. Be proud of yourself for a lot of reasons. Like you think that Caldwell sees that in you too, and wants it for whatever he's doing. And you're standing up for yourself. Everyone has their own agenda. That's okay. Agendas are okay. But you want to do something positive with your love. Maybe with your anger too. That's why I gave you that list. That list? He almost shouted that. Volleyball? Rock climbing? Walks? I added that. What is it that makes you so angry about it? Sure said. You want me to pick up painting? Knitting? The fucking life project? What even is that? I'm not some goddamn flake. Has anyone in your family ever suffered from Alzheimer's? Her question opened his mouth. One of the ways you can calm people with Alzheimer's is to give them a doll. You tell them to look after it. It can help. You think I'm losing my mind. Not at all. The dolls don't just work on people far gone. One of the most powerful things I ever saw was an interview with a patient, not too far into the disease. He had perfect insight. He held up the doll and he said, "Don't get me wrong, I know it's not real. I don't know why it helps me to look after it, but it does." And he smiled. This is actually yeah. Stonier stared. "What's your point?" He said. "You say you know that knitting and rock climbing are wastes of time. In Primal Scream or Rebirth Therapy or, sure, The Life Project. R." She made motions, flaky and stupid, "and pretend that only people fooled by them could benefit. And you think because I'm suggesting them, I think you're a fool. And maybe I'm a fool too. But I'm not asking you to buy into anything. I'm saying I think that there's a chance that they could help you, even though, you know, how they sound." He licked his lips. "The Life Project?" He said warily. "Dr. Allam's Life Project," she said, mockingly grand, then slipped back to her usual voice. "Yes, a positivity center. Yes, stupid. I know. I get it. The fight against despair. Okay, roll your eyes. What if you tried it anyway, as skeptic as you are?" He said, "I'll think about it, like we always say. We'll think about it. I know. I think you've been thinking about it since I suggested it." He looked into the shadowed darkness where the deer had run. An owl, he saw, watched him from that gloom now. And you guys know, my owl's name is Lamontague. Holla! All right. The higher the security protocols of a lab, the more stepped seats in a semicircle there were in the viewing rooms, ranged around the wire thread glass looking in. But everyone must sleep. And, too, was there not that certain word, I don't know, politesse, politesse, in the unit, the granting of sufficient solitude to he for whom they were all there? Was that not what the small houses were for? So Newt was alone in the back row of the largest amphitheater. He stared into the white-lit chamber, all trays and blades and paraphernalia and cabinets. In the center was the gurney. Atop it, congealing out of fleshy matter in swirls like candle melt, an egg pod, more than a meter high. Vein-like protrusions mapped its surface. It was the color of an island hog. When Newt B turned his head at last, he saw through the door pane into the corridor beyond, made out a dim figure standing still, backlit by the hallway fluorescence. Someone had come to press their face at the window of the viewing room, into which their own past did not grant access. Perhaps. They cupped their face to blank out reflection, a man in a child's pose. B and the observer regarded each other. Had the man made out the words B was muttering without sound when he started at the egg? Stared, sorry. He read from those lips. "Come on, please." When the guard paused, B noted how gently she put a hand upon the watcher's shoulder, so that he stepped back and the light illuminated him, and B knew him, Stonier. B watched him go, considered grief, the shape of this morning, of this man, of this age, in this late imperial market epoch, and beneath such distinctions, the emotions' unchanged foundation. The sorrow B had seen in Olafsson had witnessed a near infinity of times. He did not look up when the door opened, nor when Diana sidled along the rows and sat in the next but one chair to him. "What do you have?" B said to her. "Not much." She handed him a dossier. "That's the report on Thaka. I've never seen the meds so bewildered. And remember, I've seen them work on you." At least when you're injured, you have the decency to heal, even if impossibly quickly, and it's never enough to kill you. She gestured at the pod. Thaka, he didn't heal. He had a fucking hole in him, and he still came back to say hello. Anything on the Babirusa? B said. Before the egg? No, it was pig meat. They went over it a ton of times with a Gauss field, and the whole lab's a Faraday cage. It's clean, no tags. It would never let anyone chip it anyway, B said. I don't think. He sounded not quite certain. She stared at the pod. How is it? She said, pushing out something like that. I can only tell you what it's like just afterwards, he said on the outside. It must be an effort, she said. It's tough, that stuff. You must be born, reborn, straining. Diana had seen photographs of the two chrysalises from which a newt had emerged. After injury catastrophic enough to temporarily and even unfathomable body, one image had been sepia of the object alone. In the other, two women and a man in Damascene fashions of a century's vintage stood stiffly alongside the ovoid shape in the corner of the garden. The picture had been colored carefully by hand. The egg before was darker, bloodier colored than in that image. She said, I can't believe that things, that time, what's the that it echoes. B gestured for her to clarify. That eventually after you, she said, thousands of years later, the same story would recur. Like with your mother, your band, peaceful settlement, invasion, cruelty, desperation, narcotic, ecstasy, appeal to something, some power, some source. Her face was hungry, glowing, electric blue intervention, and then a weapon's born, a weapon that won't die, and after that, revenge. Diana, he said, you're one in a long line of smart people I've known who are capable of missing obvious things. Eventually, you can't imagine how many times I've seen, you name it, squirrels on a good tree get pushed out by other animals, badgers, mink, frogs. How many times I've seen one of them look like it was pleading with the sky. How often I've wondered, how often I've watched a shoal of fish in a nice rock pool get pushed out, eaten, chased away. Seen one of the displaced ones eat some weird algae and stare up as if into, he shook his head, heaven, waiting for lightning. He shrugged, stare up at me. What? Diana managed to whisper. Deer, bears, iguana, termites, bats, chimps, dodos. I've watched a snail petition its gods against other animals. People too. I remember a young Erectus woman chewing nasty-looking leaves after a raid by tougher erecti. I saw the same sort of thing twice with Neanderthal females, 6,000 years apart. Not because of other Neanderthals, by the way. Sapiens was always more trouble. That's a cliche, but it's true. I saw a fluorescenesis woman try it after a particularly brutal raid. Maybe if she'd picked a different drug, it might have worked. In which case, maybe it would have been her species that made it through. And my mother wasn't the only sapiens to give it a go, he said. You have no idea how many times I've seen it tried. This little cycle, what gave rise to me, it's the most common story in the world. There's more of you? No, he said. You're right, that this was something special. He nodded at the glass. I've seen a whole lot of prayers unanswered. This is the only time I ever saw the lightning come in response. The exact combination of drugs and temperatures and genetics and stress that worked for my mom worked for his too. No worries. He did what you did. What was that blue lightning? She said at last. I don't know what it was, he said. You know that. I'm past that. I'm here for help and how to be. You're the one who still thinks you can figure out what's and whys. You'll be disappointed anyway. This is the only time I know of when it worked. The first time is tragedy, then is farce. He smiled. You know, Carl was always much funnier than most people made him out to be. This pig, Diana whispered. This is farce, the repetition of you, the original tragedy. What I said, B said, is that's the only other time I saw it. Doesn't follow it never before. Why would I assume I'm the first time it worked? Maybe him and me were both farces. Diana heard his words as if he were a long ways away. She shook her head as if to clear her ears, as if her shock were water. You'll be getting a data dump soon, he said, from what's in there. Maybe it'll get you further along the way, closer to your cloned super soldiers. Diana said nothing. Butter wouldn't melt, he said. I've told you, I don't care. I want what I want. And you, plural, want what you want. By all means, take your samples of me, do your work, extract what you can, put it into your people. Make your unkillable killers if you can. Just give me what I want. What I've always wanted, she said finally, is to understand. Understanding's overrated, he said. Look at you, so demure. That is adjective for her during such little exchanges, and she hated it because she did not feel inaccurate. Refusing to engage with his provocations about super soldiers and genetic splicing, she felt coy. She was merely obeying protocols, neither confirming nor denying, even to him. Maybe he could hear her heartbeats, despite having denied it. 80,000 years of data would make him a more efficient lie detector than any junk science polygraph. Which is why we don't lie to him, Caldwell had told her. We won't risk the bad blood. But the Eutychus program is nearby, she had said. Nebe, not even B's ears. If I can't deny it, what do I do? When he talks about it, and he will, say nothing. That'll fool him? Of course not, but you wouldn't have lied. Omission is lying. Take that up with a philosopher, Caldwell said, or a priest. Don't take that shit up with any damn priests. I don't care what you do with what you learn. If you help me, B said now. Do you think you're the first people to think of using whatever this is? He hit his own chest 3 times hard. I said you're not the first, the second, nor thousandths. These pills you give me, force tracking this, field dampening that, they're just the herbs and salts others have tried. Those carbon peapod quantum latticework Ziploc restraints you're trying to build, Diana, your face, I can access your manifests. You know, and my physics isn't up to yours, but it'll do. You have my blessing. I know what you're doing, and I'll even let you test them on me. You're not the first people to make progress in that area either. The last woman who did was a witch. 1,300 years ago. I helped her too. Let her try her ropes. She called me a wolf, but she called them Fenrir's bonds. I broke out of them, but it wasn't easy. What do you want, B? Diana couldn't stop herself from recalling the first time she'd asked. Is it to die? He said, you're not listening. You think you're pretty cynical, but this isn't a fairy story for you to be revisionist about. You don't get to disabuse me. Don't think I'm the boy who learned what fear was. I know this isn't Koschei the Deathless. What I want isn't immortal. I don't want to die, but I do want to be able to. Death not as a destination, but as horizon. Not death up close. His desire, not for the end, but to continue not ending in a quite new way. In the shadow of life's culminating end. And if that was what he craved, wasn't that? Though he hadn't said this to her either, to suggest that he was not now living. What could it be? To exist within the banality of endlessness? That's tough. Perhaps he'd seen that epiphany in her. He had smiled a little at her silence, had added with winning ruefulness, I admit, I'm not 100% sure that Koschei, the Deathless, wasn't based on me. Thenceforth, the collaborations, the quantum scatter tracking, existential analysis, plus electron microscopy, plus stress response evaluation, plus ultrawave detection, plus meditation, plus biophysics, closer to dissident philosophy than mainstream science. Paid for him with her interventions in the field, her work designed for her to understand, to seek and tap his wellspring, and for him to strip away his recalcitrant deathlessness. That word again is recalcitrant, recalcitrant. To give him life worthy of the word. He doesn't want to die. He wants to live. I saw it born, he said, now looking at the pod. The first time, I'd only died a few times, then and always hatched right there where I'd fallen. When I was young, I hurt my mother. I remember I bit her when I fed. So you even remember babyhood, Diana said. It's only the berserk that you forget. I don't forget, he said. During the Reestrid, he used the old Irish word. I'm not conscious enough to be aware in the first place. But listen, unlike mine, that little pig's mom didn't stand a chance when it came out. He looked down. I'm glad you haven't asked me its name, he said. I never gave it one. That's a lie. I've given it many over the years, but none stuck. If you've seen so many attempts at a protective invocation, Diana said, why did this one work? He shrugged. I realized, he said after a pause, I may be in pain for your bosses, the ones you've never met, in smoke-filled rooms. Maybe they're not smoke-filled these days. I mean, I'm playing nice. You get your blood and your skin. But I know it would be easier for them if I didn't have any opinions. If I were I think it would be simpler than dealing with me. They'll be pressuring you to switch your efforts, build your resources out of that. Go to war behind immortal pigs on tight leashes. Now, I've had to deal with that thing. And with the cult of the Tusk, kooks who've worshipped it. And all I can say is good luck. Why did this one work? How did it manage to be born? Be stared into the cold glow like a scriper into a dark glass. His stare had to it intensity, sorrow, such as Diana had not seen in him before. I've asked myself the same question, and I don't know. It's funny. No one knows what they do with these tusks. They aren't any use to dig with. Explorers said they used them against each other during the mating season. The locals called bullshit. Rightly so. Now the arguments that they are for display, which is a way of saying you have no idea. And all the while those tusks just keep on growing. They have to grind them down, gnaw on things, scrape them their whole lives. But imagine about this thing before, Diana said. Things like that. You remind me of how young you are. I get that this pig is a revelation to you, and that it's important to me too. But I didn't tell you about it because I wasn't thinking about it. Because it was a while since I'd seen it. I get that you might make connections quickly that remind me of this. That's because you have so few memories in such tiny storehouses. But do you understand how much stuff is in my head? I don't forget things. But that's not the same thing as having it all in hand or knowing what's useful. How am I supposed to? Which of the things that have happened to me matter, let alone to you? I didn't tell you about the pig like I didn't tell you. He looked up that a herd of Pterodons survived in Burgundy until the 400s AD. Like I didn't tell you how many nemesis I've had, or how many of them just. He made a puff of smoke and just disappeared one day, mid fight. Even once, like I didn't tell you that Sargis was a woman and Sham was a man, not the other way around. That there have been cults who hated me as well as those who worshipped me. Life itself who tried to kill me. That the first gear was invented 18,000 years ago. Like I've seen inanimate objects come to life. Shall I go on? Diana strove as everything he said. A human with perfect memory isn't human, the thought came to her, but it didn't feel like hers. Go on, he said gently. I'm saying those aren't secrets. It doesn't always occur to me what to tell you because there's so much you don't know. I don't know art. So yes, there's a Barbarossa that was born when a beast fucked lightning, like I was. Was this Bunut or Unut speaking? Diana wondered. How did you find it? She said. Here. There was the question that everyone had seemed too shy. I didn't, he said. It found me, like it always does. How? Why? I'll ask it if it gets back. I hope I can't. I always do. Maybe it'll tell me one day. You say it always finds you. That means you always find it. She couldn't have said. His eyes widened, but he did blink quickly. What are you looking for? She nearly said. But she saw him then like an animal, ready to run, easy, strained to think it, to spook. And she didn't ask her question. What? Anna said slowly at last instead. Does all this have to do with Thaka? Doesn't it seem a stretch that this pig just happens to arrive as this thing with Thaka happens? Did Caldwell ask you to ask? B said. What? If this is what your Caldwell is too, and the two of you decided that you're more persuasive than him, good call. You Newt. She let out a little bristleness voice. We know we'll never be able to persuade you to do anything you don't want to do. Is it obvious that you spar with Caldwell sometimes for my company? Sure. We will ignore that, no? Does that mean we're playing games? No. We wouldn't be so stupid. If you're trying to trip me up, you should know I couldn't be more off balance to start with. My job is to deal with an immortal, impossibly strong, fugue state suffering harbinger of death. Okay, he said. The truth is, it always gets to me when the Barbarossa comes. As you can tell, what I have to do with Thaka? If anything, I don't know. It's time since I've seen anything new. And this is new. Thaka was dead, then alive again. And it tracks. The Barbarossa had been there after the mission. It's not the time the pig's been on my trail, but I've never seen anyone come back from when he visits before. It's only usually the pig that comes back, Diane, and you. A few more pages. I like that stop so I can process everything. All right, I got right there. I got to the gonna actually end that. It's not now. It's gonna be soon. Diana called up the familiar footage, preparations in the locker room, the washed out color of the digital footage, fizzing soundtrack, specialists strapping on gear, Thaka and Chapman checking weapons, getting scanner calibrations, Miller and Khan laughing at some scatological jokes, Grayson exercising, Just like him to do that in the middle of the room. Kiever checking the map. Yulefson walking over to Anut, left-hand corner of the screen. Yulefson reaching into the pocket of his tightly done-up jacket. You had to know where crowded screen to notice his movement, trying to come closer, holding him back, his arm suddenly up and unyielding, a shove of bullets pushing them into a bloody hug. The screen's going white, then black, as the RK-3 exploded. Diana remembered the odor in the room itself just after, walking through the strong smell of scorching chemicals, vinegar and salvia, the shreds of bottles and amulets and trinkets, and the names of the uniteers dead to particular circumstance. A shrapnel of a patriotic gewgaws, and mementos of holy nonsense, as if such charms could do with what heavy ordnance could not, as if they had not been deployed by Anut's enemies many thousands of times. Diana shook her head to clear it of these memories. She slept for 3.5 hours. When she woke, she went to Caldwell's office. She not waited and opened the door onto Caldwell speaking into a dictaphone. Something about Acadian and cuneiform. He met her gaze. He finished his sentence. His eyes were wide and red-rimmed. It's bad form to come in before you're invited, he said to her. It's bad form not to answer a knocking on the door, she said. You see, Mel, what B has been saying. I did. He's more telling us he knows all the secrets of the world, and he'll tell us them, but we have to ask the right questions. Which means we have to ask every question that exists. Caldwell pulled up her message. Glyptodons, he said. Inanimate objects? Magnetism, particle fields, maybe. He's said enough that our chronology of science is wrong. Maybe someone got there before us. Diana followed Caldwell's agitated gaze to his shelf, his folders and files, his bound volumes. A concordance of ancient technology. Karen said, none of this means your model is wrong. She'd seen the coded graphs he had worked on for years. Graphics of the historic tools is traced by cutting-edge archaeology and insights gained from Anut himself. The mimetic from polity to ancient polity of sharp-edged flint blades, amphorae, and the rolling modular seals pressing monstrous images into the clay closed them, of mechanisms like that of the Kythera device, of wheels of bronze and iron. Go, technology follows, Caldwell told Anut, who had Diana remembered, inclined his head with faint interest. Has it not, Caldwell said to her now. I've spent a lifetime building up a theory that he's a vector for innovation. Not that he meets it on its way. If he's bumping up against sciences like that, way beyond anything in the standard or the secret standard model, then he's not a vanguard. Whether he knows it or not, it's more likely he's chasing something. Hey, Steve. The Steve. We're almost done. Does it have to be either or? Diana said. Caldwell tapped his lips with the tip of his finger of organizing. He said quietly, animates would mean the opposite of winding down, increasing in complexity, decreasing in chaos, a heroic stand against thermodynamics. He shook his head and said, more clearly, and he still says he doesn't know what to make of Thaka? No, and I believe him. I get the impression he's waiting for us to come up with something on the front. Thaka's body on ice. Hey, Steve, I'm doing a walk for Serafina. You know that's not her actual name after this book reading, but it's going to be a while. Like, it might not be 3 more hours. And I'm probably going to talk hella shit about that disgusting, fat, fucking pig bitch. But after I go to the museum, so I got a lot of stuff planned. So if you want, if you stick around here on this little page, as long as YouTube lets me keep popping off, I'll do all this fun shit. But it says, I believe him. I get the impression he's waiting for us to come up with something on that front. Athaka's body is on ice, Caldwell said. I have one or two ideas I'm going to pursue with it. Usual drill. Focused on. We've let the new school have its go, so I'll give it a try. Old school. Goetic magic? Bramelin? She kept her voice neutral. Some stuff from the Schemaphrosat. What the fuck is Chemhamphors? So it's Hamphorage, I think, and Le Dragon Rouge. I know it's a long shot. Damn right, it's a long shot. I'm never sure, Diana, whether you'd prefer it if old grimoire would or wouldn't work better than nanoscanning. Ab-neutron field progression. Use big ass words. And I'm not going to treat these words like I speak them every day. That's kind of why people listen to me read, because I'm giving you a like a rendition of the stuff that I'm reading. And sometimes the words are huge. But the more we read together, the more we learn. It says, I'm never sure, Diana said, whether you prefer it old grimoire would or wouldn't work better than blah, blah, blah. Neither am I, Caldwell said. I still wonder if there's something we're not picking up about Thaka specifically. If this isn't something that happened to him, but something that happened to him. Strange. We just can't find anything in particular about him. And looking isn't there. I'll let you know if I have any luck. There's something in the way B talks about Babe, Diane again. Caldwell raised an eyebrow. It's a pig, he said. In our Babarusa every single time. I've never heard him talk about anything like he talked about that animal. I'm wondering about pigs. I've been chasing symbols, undercurrents. Nanya, Caldwell says, a rich seam. The Narine swine, long pig. He counted slow on his fingers. Twerch, Twyworth. Circe's propensity for oerosmorphism. I suppose you could call this more kind uncanny. Do you know William Hope Hodgson? He wrote an outstanding exemplar of the tradition. Diana made sure he saw her looking skeptical. I'll tell you what's up, she said. There came another knock. This time Caldwell called. Come in, smartly enough. Stonier entered. He stood to a sort of suspicious attention. You wanted to see me again? He said. Yes, Caldwell said. To Diana, he said quietly. Mentioned, I'm pursuing an adventure of investigation. She said. Something passed between her eyes and his. Keep me informed, she said, slipping out, closing the door behind herself. Caldwell gestured to a chair. I prefer to stand, sir. As you like. Caldwell touched his fingertips together. Thank you for coming. How are you? What was this emotion on Stonier's face? It was not quite dislike, not quite distrust. It was not disdain. It was dismal and disquieted and dysregulated and disciplined and distant. This guy, I'm going to stop at distant. This guy, China Miville, I think he's the one that creates word structures. It's like a run-on sentence. He speaks like me. So when I read it, I'm like getting a completely different interpretation than I'm probably reading, and for that I do apologize. I see it different. I like it. Okay. That just like to pop my little thoughts in there. This unit is no stranger to such tragic losses, Caldwell spoke carefully. And there's something uniquely painful about the particular friendly fire incidents we suffer. Stonier looked right at him. I'd like to ask questions about Thaka. I don't have anything to say that's not in the report, Stonier said. Only an inner core of techs and high-ranking researchers knew that the official story, the one Stonier had been given, that Taka had linked, reading as dead on a Fritzy scanner, was obfuscatory. Yes, Stonier had seen his husband's that second time in the tunnel and might ask himself how he could have held on with such injuries. But it had been a desperate moment, and perhaps he doubted his memories. Taka on duty here, I understand, Caldwell said. Just a second. Yeah, you met Doc on duty here, I understand. Caldwell said, know how competitive it is to get into this unit. We're all fortunate to work in this remarkable field. And we all know that a Newt, who has, let's not forget, also saved a great many of your comrades, responsible for his actions in his charged state. You've expressed reservations about taking part in my work, and I could simply order your participation, but it's important to me that this is voluntary. I want to talk to you because I want new Thaka like you. I want to see if we can piece anything together about him that we... I'm pursuing this to see if there are ways we might minimize the danger from having... Excuse me, it's not the right formulation from choosing work with your Newt. I'd welcome your help for all our sakes. The silence stretched out, took a deep breath, and slapped his hands down upon the desk. We are, as I say, fortunate in this work. You could say blessed. Now he looked up and met Stonier's eyes. And almost say, bless us. All right, page 90. I'm going to close the book for today. Page 90 to 100 I'll be reading tomorrow for chapter 8. Lovely book, The Book of Elsewhere, from Keanu Reeves and China Miéville. Thank you guys for joining me. And just know I've got a couple other things if it doesn't rain. I mean, if it rains, I may still do it anyway just so I can talk shit. So, whatever you guys got planned with your day, I'm happy that you took a little time to listen to it and see what else I've got planned for today. Really, really big day tomorrow. I'm going to be broadcasting at least 3 bands tomorrow, Wednesday, at the Palladium Times Square. So thanks, guys, for joining me for this. You know who I am. You know what I do. That's all.